Edson.
Hello, everybody. Everybody who's watching was the Code for Life tour. Here we are in Munich today. You might have seen today's interview with Bruno Souza and Tony Epple. Okay, I hope I said it correctly. And now we're here because we have a very special opportunity. Particularly, people know me in Brazil as a software craftsman because I like to advocate for the software craftsmanship movement in Brazil. And we're very glad to see this happening because we had the opportunity to meet another software craftsman here in Germany. So I'd like to introduce here Marcus Biel, which also considers himself a software craftsman. And I would like to begin our conversation asking you to talk a bit about yourself, what you do, what has been your journey through in this movement.
Okay, well, I think I started developing in Java 2001.
Okay.
And well, it fascinated me quite early. So I fell in love and I didn't stop. Well, first of all, I thought I'm just going to master Java and then I go on new stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm still learning Java. I mean, there's so much stuff. And I always wanted to do it properly, with passion.
Okay.
Because for me, software craftsmanship is all about passion. And I think it's just in me personally that the stuff I do, I want to do it proper.
Okay.
Because mediocre stuff isn't fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think I did it pretty much the way I do it now. Just even when I was a rookie, then I read books that said stuff like to have encapsulation, you need getters and setters, and I was like, I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was wrong. This is the thing with many things. I learned something, I heard it, I didn't understand it, and I thought I was wrong. Much later on, I learned, well, I wasn't that wrong.
Okay. And it's interesting that you say that you always want to improve your code. I don't know, at least for me, it happened this way. I was always caring about my code, and with some special and important events in my life, at some given point in my life, 6, 7, or 8 years ago, I was very disappointed with my life and with my career. Then the software craftsmanship movement was something that I read about, and it kind of renovated my interest in software developments, because we don't develop a software just for ourselves or just for making money. We can make the difference with what we code, and because software changes the people's lives, and I realized that code is not only about result, just adding value, because how you do that code is as much important as what are you delivering. So it was a very special moment in my life. I don't know if it happened to you too also.
In a way, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't know. I think you've been talking a lot about clean code. Yeah. What do you? I believe that many people that are watching us, they don't know exactly what is clean code. Can you explain a bit of that?
Well, first of all, to me, I mean, there's the definition from the book.
Okay.
Let's start with that. To me, it means a bit different thing. So first of all, clean code, what the book would say is coding properly, just take the word clean. And I think the word clean code is already a clean word because it says exactly what it is, It is code, you look at it and it looks clean. It's not clean, it looks messy, and you just want to touch it, you want to change it, you have this urge to refactor it, to make it better, to understand it. You get a headache because you don't understand it. And yeah, so clean code is all that not. It's you read it like a book and you understand it directly, instantly, easy,
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be here asking questions offline, but do you have a book about clean code?
Yeah, well, the first time I heard about the term clean code, of course, was from Robert C. Martin, which for me was, as I said before, I was always thinking that way. Now I read that book and I was like, wow, there is a word to what I'm doing, right? There is a word, a term that now this made it everything so much easier because I could go to people and say, I'm a clean coder, that's what I do. And then a few years later, he also released the Clean Coder,
okay,
where it's more about, the person,
the ethics.
The ethics,
doing
the
that.
whole work style. And this is already what I would say, the craftsman. So, and this is what I meant, for me, clean code is more, because for me, it's to write clean code, but also to be a clean coder, okay, which is a craftsman, right? It's just that I use clean code more because I realized that online the audience that I talk to, they know clean code much better than craftsman, because craftsman is still a bit new term.
Okay.
So for this, I use clean code, but basically for me, I think these terms are pretty much interchangeable.
Yeah, it's interesting because the word craftsman, some people say software artisans. I don't know which word would be better, but I think both words don't quite represent what we feel about that, because, you know, artisans could be that street artists selling bags, or even craftsmen can mean a lot of things. So it's interesting that you take for yourself this word clean coder for something.
Yeah, it's also like when you Google and you try to find something about craftsman, you then find the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
But when you look for clean code, you will always find clean code, right? So I thought, you know, the word clean code is just cleaner.
Okay, maybe just clean coder could be a label.
Yeah, even sometimes I call myself clean code craftsman, which because it has 3 C's.
CCC.
Yeah.
Okay.
But which is like a clean coder.
So,
Okay.
so my question to you guys is, how, you know, as a developer, how can I how can I make my code cleaner? How can I, you know, there's steps that I can take, or, you know, I have to learn how to make a clean code, or what exactly do I need to do?
Okay. I always say in my talks that, I don't know how many of you have seen Simon Sinek's talk called Start With Why, startwithwhy.com from TED. It's a very interesting talk and a very short one, just I think it's less than 10 minutes, but he says that you always have to start with the why, because if you know why you're doing something, it's easy for you to figure out how to do it or what are the steps that you need to make it. So I believe that we as software craftsmen, and all of you that want to be already are, know that why you're doing, because we can change the world for the better with the things that we do. But of course, you have to study. You have to be constantly improving yourself. You have the steps. If you read the book Clean Code or other excellent books like Refactoring to Patterns, you have a lot of step-by-step baby steps, which are very important for you to improve your codes. But much more than proficiency, I also learned last year from a professor from Berlandia that I always believed that being a clean coder was supposed to be a competent person, but then he told me what does it mean, because it comes from Latin, competere, which means competing against yourself and not competing against others. So a competent person, a clean coder, is not someone that is proficient in what he's doing, but is someone that is better every day in what he's doing. So I believe it has much more to do about the path rather than the results. Oh, I'm proficient. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to be the master that I wanted to be when I was younger, but I'm pretty happy with the path that I'm taking, because I know that every day my code, I can see that my code is improving. I can see that the code that I did yesterday is crappy, because today I can do much better. Okay. And I know if you have some tips about this journey about being a software craftsman.
Well, I would give a practical answer. Like what I often noticed is many of colleagues that I work with, like programming is hard, of course, we all know that. And then you work in a company, it might be a totally new business area to you. There's lots of terms that are new to you, colleagues that are new to you. I mean, this is tough stuff, right? You must be really a smart person to deal with that, right? And then you get a task and you have a time limit usually, and you're under pressure. So you work hard to make it work. And then, well, not to say it wrong, like there are many people that like are not on the clean coding side yet. Okay. We still have to fight for them to join us. That would say like, you know, great, it works, so let's call it a day and let's go, right? So they just, you know, as if you would write a book, you would start on page 1, you write 200, if not 1,000 pages, and then you stop and you print it and you're happy. And that's not clean code. Like that it works is just the very, very first step, right? And then you have to like make it better. Okay. Then you need your tests, and if you have your tests ready, unit tests, of course, most importantly, but also other tests like notation testing, all this, like a big testing framework, then you have the safety net that you can start refactoring. And you know, before this was stress. Now is when the fun starts, because now you can make it better. You can, like, same with a book, right? You can use 1,000 words for a small thing, like what I usually do, unfortunately, or you can, express the same thing in just 10 words and be more precise. So it's a lot about the language, the variable names, the method names. You have to put effort and passion into that. And it's not just it's okay, it's good enough. No, it's not good enough. Yeah.
Okay. There's now that you said is like writing. We have an adage in Portuguese, at least. I'll try to translate it in English, because whatever is written without effort is read without pleasure. So I guess it has everything to do about code. The cleanliness, the amount, how much your code is clean, or how much is readable, or how much is maintainable, is directly is a direct result from the effort that you put in your code.
Yes.
So, well, that's cool. Good to know. You said about writing unit tests. Do you do that? Do you do classic TDD, or you just you do more exploratory TDD? How do you use unit tests in your daily coding?
Well, I guess it's a mix of both, because it always depends on the requirements. Sometimes, like, real work is different, because the theory says, like, you start with a perfect test and then you do classic TDD. But for me, at least, it doesn't always work out like that, because like I get some requirements, I start coding, and then the requirements get changed very fast or are unclear. So sometimes I start in a TDD way. Sometimes I also start just coding. But no matter what, what is first is, at the end, there must be tests. And there must be like a good protecting net of tests. And, unit tests, the classical test pyramid. Okay. So that you have like the majority of your tests would be unit tests, but then it's not enough. You have integration tests, component tests, you have mutation testing. Mm-hmm. And when you have all that, and then you can really rumble and refactor as much as you want.
Okay, would you agree if I said that testing has much more to do about confidence rather than correctness? What do you think about this?
No, I would tackle it a different way, because for me, I mean, this is a big thing for me, because everyone speaks of testing to test that it works, right? Okay. And to be confident that it's working. Mm-hmm. But for me, the test is more. To me, I don't know if this is only me, but I think I also read that the test talks to me. I hear it talking, right? Okay. It talks to me, and
it's a live thing.
Yeah, it talks to me, and it tells me your code is shit. Because I try to test it, I try to mock the things, and it doesn't properly work. I'm like, shit, I need to improve this, and then I improve it, Okay. And this is why tests for me is the first reason to write tests, because they talk to me and they help me to get to clean code. Without tests, I couldn't, because I'm happy with myself pretty soon, right? Mm-hmm. I write my code, and I think it was cool, because we're all humans. So you have like your glasses on, and you're blind to your own shit.
Okay.
But the test talks to you, and it puts you into the right direction and tells you this is shit.
And I believe that many people that are watching us, they even want to do test-driven design. They want to do tests, but sometimes it's hard to do tests in the code that they write today, or the code that they have today to maintain. Would you have some tips on how can make their code more testable?
Well, how to make the code more testable? Well, the thing is, you have to, of course, test early, because the problem is, if it grows too much, because I said, it doesn't matter too much if you start directly with a test or write the test later. But the important point is, early, because we are iteratively working. And if you join a new company, there is a class of, let's say, 1,000 lines of code, and it's untested. Well, this is already too late, and of course, then it does hurt, right? Okay. And then you have to be really careful, step by step, the little steps, right, that you also mentioned.
Okay.
But if you're in a more comfortable position, that you develop something new, then you are responsible, and you can change it, and you can write your test as early as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So of course, you can't cast complexity away. Some things are tough. And if you have untested code, thousands of lines, untested, first of all, you don't have the tests. Second, because you don't have the test, the code is horrible, and it's even more horrible because you don't have the test. So yes, that is tough. That's tough for everyone.
Okay.
So you just have to go through it.
Okay. And we'd like to take the opportunity to ask you that are watching us. We're very interested in what are you doing today, what you think about software craftsmanship, what do you think about clean code, and where are you from? Because we want, we have a Brazilian here, we have a German here, maybe we have some French people, other Brazilians, Portuguese ones, Swiss. Yeah, we went to Zurich 2 days ago. So we want to know you that are watching us, what are your opinions? And what do you think about what we're talking and discussing?
Okay, so Edson, this is Bruno here to interrupt you. We have a question from Andrew. And he says, do you use TDD and writes a full set of tests for presentation layer as well? This might be a quite expensive approach.
True, but it even depends. I don't know what is he talking about presentation testing, because some people used to do presentation testing like you create, you have an interface and you just use Selenium to create integration testing for that. UI testing, that's expensive. That's why most of the testers today, they are writing just pure JavaScript tests instead of running integration testing. So that's the current trend today, I believe, is to write JavaScript tests on the UI. So you have unit tests on the UI rather than writing integration tests. I don't know if that was the question. I don't know if you want to add something to it.
Yeah, I also guess it was related to UI testing. And yes, of course, that is difficult and expensive. And yeah, I personally have the good situation that I haven't worked with UI stuff for like 5 or 10 years. I don't know exactly. So I'm more in the business.
Why is that the most of us just do back-end development?
Because that's the cool stuff, right? I mean, the UI constantly changes, and like I work with JavaScript and CSS and HTML, but then there's so many different browsers and it's not working, and I don't want to do that. I want to work on cool business features. That's fun for me. So I stopped, and also there's so many better guys there, that are specialized on HTML, CSS, and I'm not. And I want to stay with Java, so I focus on that what I'm good in. So, but still, to answer the question. Well, I would try to make it this UI layer as thin as possible, because it gets more difficult if you have, like, let's say old GSPs and you have often you have lots of business logic in there, and then it gets tough. But if you have like a modern UI, and let's say you have a backend and then you have some REST communication, and then you have a very thin layer, even with Angular, and then you can test that on the JavaScript side, yeah, and then it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not easy.
Oh, and if I would like to add that maybe if what the kind of testing that we're doing today, at least in computer science, anything that today is difficult, maybe it's because we didn't put enough effort in that yet to make it simple and to make it easy. But we will reach there. We're going to reach that point when it's easy, because we just need more people interested in that.
Okay, so Andrew, I think he kind of evolves on his question here. He says, so in case you have to use Selenium, do you do this yourself? I mean, I'm not sure, maybe he's asking about having like a specific team to do the testing, could be.
Okay, I know that some companies, they have a QA team that does the Selenium test, but just in my case, in all of the projects that I was involved, I did the test myself. Me and my team, we did the test ourselves, because we didn't have a QA, so the QA was the development team.
So when I ask this question here, Tony here saying, yes, with that. So you have anything with customers?
Yeah, most customers, I'm working a lot in client-side development, and most of the customers that we have QA teams that do the testing, specific testing teams, which is good sometimes, because it's a different kind of testing. They go to the test from a different perspective. But if it's also bad sometimes if you realize that all the testing is suddenly a responsibility of this team. So you have to really separate. The unit tests is something that developers should definitely do themselves.
Yeah, there isn't a good sentence from Uncle Bob, which is QA should find nothing.
Yeah,
because there's not code quality is not their responsibility. Yeah? Our job as a QA should find nothing.
Thanks for
And
that.
is that true for most companies?
That's the way it should be,
It
right?
should be, right?
And that's because my heart is already bleeding, because like also for me, like the last time I worked in a UI set style work environment, we also had a specific team to write the Selenium tests. But I don't believe in that, right? My personal opinion is if you would put the exact same amount of money and you would just hire more developers, because of course, you know, if there's this amount to develop and there's only, let's say, 3 developers, then they will develop. But let's say you have 6 developers instead of 3, you know, the agile mind.
Okay.
Then they could also test, and then it gets better and cleaner.
Okay, but just to make things clear, we are not against testers, because I know that there is a science behind testing to know, because it's impossible to test everything. So you need a good test plan to know which are the most important things to test. If you have limited money and time, you have to know, you know, there are some techniques that they use to know which are the most important things to test. So where do you spend your money, since you have limited money? So I know it's important, yeah, but I agree that we should hire more developers, but we also need maybe a tester involved in the development team, or developers with more testing theory. That I think that this multi-faced team, maybe it's the best approach for software development. At least that's what I believe.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, you need a tester, but like the difference is, there are companies that would have an entire team, like as much testers as developers, sometimes even more than that. And my perspective is like, again, the pyramid approach, that you have like, you know, for example, one smart tester, because of course, even with 100% test coverage, you can't test everything, because, you know, you don't have a combination of all the possible combinations, not even with 100%. So you need a smart person that understands the business and will find those corner cases. Yes, but you know, this person should find nothing. If this person finds anything, then it's my fault, and then my heart again bleeds, right?
Okay.
Then I did a bad job.
Anthony would like to add something. Bruno, can you turn the camera?
Yes.
I just want to ask a question. If you have experience with behavior-driven development, like tools like JBehave or something like that, because that is really interesting to me, because I know people who do that, and I would like to learn your perspective on that.
Particularly in my previous job, I worked as an independent consultant before joining Red Hat. And in my previous job, we were in that phase. I wanted to implement BDD with JBehave, because I wanted the business analysts to be involved in the testing, because it's much easier if they can, if I can create an interface for them to type the business case that we must test. I was in the process of trying to implement JBehave, but I just left the company before I was able to do that. But that was, I think you need a very mature development process to be able to create JBehave, because you need test coverage. Everybody needs to be aware of testing. The team must be aware of their responsibilities. And now you have to train the business analysts to write their use cases in a pseudo language, which is testable. So there are not many companies in the world that have this level of maturity. So
yeah,
I think that's a challenge, and someone's supposed to be awakened now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got some more questions here. So Andrew is really interested in all this. Is that in case of Scrum, even quality assurance guys can make Java development just theoretically? I think that's like a comment, it's not a question.
Okay.
It's in case of Scrum, even quality assurance guys can make Java development, just
if they are allowed to. And the problem is that often, you know, from the company, they would not be allowed to, because it's like not real Scrum.
I see.
Yeah, and how do I say?
Yeah, he said that's a comment.
No, I like testers. I just I think we have different capabilities from different kind of people. So, but instead of just having my team and their team, I think we fit much better if we just work together.
Yeah,
to realize something. We're one team. That's why I don't like the development and QA team. We can both be on the same side. We're just worried about delivering the best possible solution to our users. That's why I don't like the division.
Nothing to add. Totally agree.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, guys, so actually, we're kind of, if you can just kind of wind down here and get your last answer here, because people are starting to arrive for the events tonight. And, I'd like to thank Andrew for the questions. But let me ask you two an important question, right? So you have been, a software craftsman. How did that change? You're investing in your careers, and as a software craftsman, you kind of take responsibility for the things that you do, for the project that you work on, and I'm sure you take responsibility for your careers. So can you think about one thing that you did in your career in the past, like one thing that happened that really changed your career, changed the things that you're doing right now, and that could be an idea for others to follow the same thing you did?
Please.
Well, I think when I started as a rookie, I always had this idea in my mind that I wanted to be a manager, because I thought, when you're really cool, then you're a manager and you have people below you and you will just manage. Well, it turns out whenever I had a chance to get a manager, I never wanted to, because I love programming. And so I think, programming is cool. And the problem is that it's in companies not always seen as important as it really is. This has to change. But, personally, you as a developer, you should be proud of being a developer and love it and continue doing it. And you can keep learning. And this is an endless journey. And I would just, never want to be a manager anymore. So. Okay.
I'll tell a bit of my personal history. That's a long history, so I'm going to take the very short, too long didn't read version. Bruno is aware of that, but I think I started my own company, my own startup at the beginning, like more than 12 years ago, because I realized that I think that the purpose of everybody that is born, everybody wants to be happy. And I thought that in the beginning of my career that to be happy, I needed money. That's why I created a startup and hired people to develop software, because I thought that it was the easiest way to have money. I couldn't be more wrong then, because when you do what you do only for the sake of getting money, it's just an empty life. Yeah, that's no meaning in what you're doing. Then I learned about the software craftsmanship movement. We changed it completely, what I was thinking about what I was doing. And I think now that I have a purpose, and I took this purpose for myself. I don't know if it's good enough or big enough, or if I'm even worth the purpose, but I took this purpose many years ago that I would be developing better software, and I would like to help developers all around the world to deliver better software faster, so that they could too, just as I did, to change their lives and change the life of others for the better. So that's what's happened to me, and that's the message I would like to leave for everybody that's interested in the software crafts movements. I think everybody needs a why, and software craftsmanship for me was a big why that changed the way that I look into my life. And I can tell you that I've never been so much successful. I don't know about money, but at least in terms of happiness, I've never been so fulfilled in my life as I am today.
Cool. So thank you, Edson. Thank you, Marcos. Thanks everyone that's watching us live, and thanks everyone that's just walking in. We're trying to be silent. Thanks a lot for but we're gonna end here, and keep paying attention, guys, because the tour is still gonna go to Malaga. There's gonna be lots of interviews the next few days. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Andrew. That's asking lots of questions here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for participating. Thank you, Marcus. And thank you, Germany. Thank you, Munich. Then the show will go on.
Okay.
Bye.